what are the political implications of this Constitutional Court judgment, which has found that that vote in the National Assembly that shot down the independent panel's report is declared invalid, unconstitutional. It's been set aside. And that Rule 129I of the National Assembly needs to be referred back to the National Assembly. I'm going to bring in Lukhona Mnguni now, who is a political analyst, to help us understand what we can expect on the political front. Lukhona, thanks for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners.
So does the president resign now or not? What would you advise him to do?
I think it's definitely something that is on the cards. Remember, it's not even us advising what he should do. He wanted to resign when the panel report came out. And he didn't want it to proceed any further by his own doing. I mean, there were two options: either he resigns, he promised to review it, he didn't review it. So that report stands because it has never been subjected to a review. And therefore now the Concord is quite clear that report must go straight into an impeachment committee. I have no doubt that the president is consulting quite widely within the ANC in the presidency to try and probably see what are the best steps? But my sense is that he probably goes in the next 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's my sense too. I mean, can you imagine, Lukhona, him subjecting himself through that grilling, compromising process of impeachment? Because he would need to be there. The EFF leader said, we need him to come in account. We would need to go to Phala Phala as well. I mean, I don't see him subjecting himself through such a process.
Clement, it would be an onerous process, particularly for the ANC, because in the first instance, as you are saying, a site visit, summoning up CCTV footage, security footage at Phala Phala, whether to see how the money got there, whether this Mustafa even set foot in Phala Phala, summon Mustafa into the country if a way can be found, someone records at immigration and Home Affairs. Did this Mustafa ever get scanned his passport into the country on the set dates? So this opens up the opportunity for an investigation. And I think, Clement, the truth is not really what has been said to the public. And this process, and I think people are more focused, but the ANC can still make sure that, you don't get 2/3 majority. It's not about that. Of course, you need 2/3 majority. The ANC has 40%. So it means naturally you don't have 2/3 majority without ANC members voting with the rest of the opposition. But that is not the problem.
But
that's too far.
Yeah, that vote would only come much later, and that's not really the issue here. The issue is
the political issue is the process. The political problem is the process. The information that gets unearthed. Pejani Chauke will have to be called in front of that committee. Rude will have to be called. The Reserve Bank, by the way, the governor, this has implications, Clement, for so many people. The governor will have to go and account for that statement that they said they find no wrongdoing. SARS in terms of customs and declaration. The public protector herself may be called to come and explain her report and how she got the places to where she got.
If he decides, okay, I'm resigning now, does this then make the process mute in Parliament? Because Section 89 is very clear because it speaks to the sitting president. So if he resigns, is the matter now closed?
Well, Clement, we were talking with some colleagues and some legal people here in the Constitutional Court just after the judgment was handed down to say it might actually trigger another court process because remember what the justices are affirming about the Section 89 is that it is a two-stage process. So the process was started during a period of a sitting president, and effectively they've also said you can't say because this matter was initiated in the previous administration, therefore in the new administration it falls away. And I think that's very important. Well, the president could resign and then say, but I'm not a sitting president, I can't be subject. And then and then of course the speaker says he's not a sitting president. And then we'll have to go through an entire legal process. And the importance of that, Clement, would be Section 89 is not just any process. It's the only section where you can remove a president and then they lose their benefits.
Yes.
That's where it becomes important. So to then run away from accountability so that you preserve your benefits is almost like what we see in the public service sometimes when people are faced with a disciplinary hearing.
They leave.
They then quickly resign and they leave. And I think in this instance, there's going to be a serious political and legal question. Even if he resigns, but he might buy time to 2 years, 3 years. Because remember, the ANC itself in this matter is fairly implicated, and he may want to buy time for the ANC too.
Yeah. Lastly, what then happens if he resigns? I mean, Paul Mashatile likely becomes the president. Does the Jordan Hill-Lewis, does the DA then somehow have a conversation with the ANC around Jordan Hill-Lewis taking over? Where do you see it going? Should the president decide, I'm not going to subject myself through that impeachment process?
Well, my sense now where I am, Clement, is that you then get probably a caretaker president from the ANC, where President Paul Mashatile says, look, I have ambitions to lead the ANC. If I become president now, I will have a year and a half almost of being a country president, and if there's real lack of confidence in me as country president, it might jeopardize my opportunity of being elected at an ANC conference. So therefore, he might then just say, let me bide my time. Let's get another ANC comrade who's already in cabinet, being the one who's the caretaker president. And then, of course, the DA might say, this is an important moment, time to reset. You know, Clement, there are 2 ministers of the ANC who are already implicated in scandals with the Chinese vehicles and appointments of people in some of their offices. And then the DA might say, okay, we want to increase our share in cabinet from 6 seats to 8 seats or 9 seats, or bring in more other parties into the cabinet. So it will definitely be, if he resigns, there will be some changing of the decks. Without a doubt, but I think the ANC will probably end up with a caretaker president.
Lukhona Mnguni, political analyst, thank you so much for your time. All right, so the DA has just dropped a statement. The EFF has just written to the Speaker of Parliament. It's getting so heated. I'm going to read you the DA statement. The ANC, we're getting them on the line as well to come and give us their reaction after the break.